Have you ever watched someone with a really good idea, share something and it just doesn't land? Like you're sitting there thinking, this is smart. This person is smart. What they're talking about solves a real problem, but the room is just not moving. There's not a reaction that the person is hoping to get. I was at a demo day recently and I left with that same feeling in my body because I was watching it happen over and over. Now, I want to be honest, full disclosure, cards up. When I go to events like this, I don't go as a normal attendee. I'm a public speaker, I'm a personal brand and communication strategist. So when I attend rooms like this, I'm always listening with a bit of a different ear. And it's not about judging, I'm not there to judge anybody, but it's almost this subconscious thing that I can't turn off where I'm clocking what the room is clocking. And I'm listening for what the room is not saying and how they're reacting and responding to the person on the stage. I'm also looking at that person on the stage and just quickly kind of making an assessment as to where they are. So if you've never been to a demo day, just very plainly and simply, think of it as an event where startup founders go and they get up and they pitch what it is that they're building. So they'll tell you a little bit about their company, maybe a very slight portion about themselves, and if their company is already making some progress, what the trajectory has been or the goal that they have for their company. Now, normally in demo days like this, they are looking for capital. However, in this particular demo day, it was all about pitching to potential customers and partners. So the room, as the person is speaking, is quietly deciding in real time, do I trust you? Do I want to work with you? Do I believe that you can deliver? And probably the most important question, do I even know what your business does? During this particular day, there were 20 women that were pitching their businesses, but there were a couple of instances that really struck me. And in one, it was two founders that had gone back to back. And one person was reading from her laptop. So she had propped it up on the podium. And as she was talking to you in the audience, she was also looking at her laptop over here, kind of scrolling up, looking up, scrolling up, looking up, and then reading it. And you could feel it. She was trying to survive the pitch. She just wanted to get to the end so that she could get off the stage. Now, interestingly, when she stopped and didn't look at her laptop and finished her line where she introduced herself again, there was an effervescence in her personality. She completely lit up. And I thought, that's it. That's the thing that people want to see, not you looking at your laptop. I have a couple of other thoughts about that, but I'll share more a little bit later. So that was one person in particular that stood out for me. But then there was another person. And she gets up, and it's not just what she said. It's not just that she was polished, because she absolutely was, but it was different because she was present. She was present in the room with us. In this instance, she wasn't hiding behind the screen or her words. She trusted herself that even if the words weren't exactly as she had memorized it, able to deliver the message with confidence. She was what I would call owning the room. It was the same stage, it was the same stakes, it was the same audience, but it was a completely different experience, not just for them as founders and speakers, but also for us as the audience. The way we experienced each of these women were very different. Now, why am I sharing this with you? Because this is the part that I think so often happens for us women, especially those that are brown and black. The room isn't just evaluating your idea, but it's evaluating you as the person who's attached to the idea. And at some point, especially in the beginning, when people don't know you, they're not really fully listening to what it is that you're saying, but there's all these subconscious things that are happening for them as they're experiencing you. And in these two instances of those women, when they're experiencing someone behind the laptop, naturally all of these thoughts happen. And we're human, it's just natural. All of these thoughts and assumptions are made. But when someone else is polished and delivering their talk, there's a different set of assumptions that are made. Now, these are all 90 seconds, maybe 2-minute pitches. Very little do we know outside of what we're seeing in front of us, but our brain is filling in the gaps of what it is that we don't know. So this video today isn't going to be about 5 public speaking tips. Future videos will probably have that because I love helping people own their story and, most importantly, deliver their story in a way that's impactful and in a way that's compelling so that people listen. That's what I want for you. I want people to be able to listen to what it is that you're saying so that you get the desired result. But today's video is not going to be about that because today at Demo Day, it reminded me about presence and why so many smart, capable women are walking into rooms every week and they're being judged in a completely different lens through a completely different set of criteria. So let me tell you what I noticed the room was rewarding. Because corporate boardrooms and meeting rooms and conference rooms and corporate spaces, general, full stop, they're rewarding the same exact things as that demo day. So even if you're not a founder, you're going to find a lot of value in this video because every day there's assumptions made. And when you're in your environment at work and you're wondering why you might not be able to break through to the next level, or you're asking the question of how are people perceiving you and what you can do to modify that perception, these are going to be some of the things that people are thinking about. So I want to share this with you as a little peek behind the curtain. Whether we like it or not, rooms are making decisions fast. I don't remember the statistic exactly, but it's something about in the first 30 seconds of someone meeting you, there's about 36 different thoughts or assumptions that have already gone through their head. Now, these are very simple things. If we think about our brain, our beautiful brains, it's always categorizing. We're trying to understand who's in a space, are we in danger, are we safe? So it's natural for these subconscious thoughts to pop up. So rooms are making decisions fast, and it's not always fair, but it's also real. It's the reality of the situation, whether we like it or not. I'm giving you this information because you can use it to your advantage. So the room is deciding quickly again, do I trust you? Do you seem ready? Do I want to work with you? And that's huge. Think about that. Do I want to work with you? So if we hear people say, I'm going off vibes, sometimes this is exactly what they mean, the vibes that are happening below the surface. And in a situation like demo day, or maybe at your job, where you have a short amount of time, it could be in an elevator, very quickly in an introduction on a Zoom call, or hopefully when you're delivering a presentation or a talk, you get a certain amount of time to change that perception or build that perception of what you are. And people are filling in the blanks all the time based off of what I call signals. This could be things like your pace, your pauses, your certainty, your eye contact, your steadiness. How does your voice sound when you talk? What is your body projecting? Are you swaying back and forth? That's usually a sign of nervousness. But I promise I'm not going to go into the 5 public speaking tips because I can kind of already feel myself going there. But I just want to lay out very plainly how rooms are working. And this is our subconscious brain. And the best way for you to test this is I want you to go into any space, even spaces that you frequent, like the supermarket. As soon as you enter, your brain is already making certain thoughts, certain connections. It's crowded today. It's empty. What's the song that's playing? Oh, I see there's a sale for oranges. So all of those things are naturally happening. And that when you start to notice that, you can then relate to how people are also experiencing you. Now, unfortunately, but I want to keep it real because that's what it's about. I'm always trying to give you the perspective as I know it, and also bringing in research and studies that also corroborate the same things that I'm seeing. If you're a Black and brown woman that is 40 plus, that read can be even faster. So we think that that read happens in seconds. I feel it happens in half a second for us. It's faster. Oftentimes it's harsher. So your delivery has to do extra work to overcome the thoughts that people already are having about you. So your idea can be right. Let's be honest, you're brilliant watching this video. So most of the time your ideas are going to be right, but it can still get rejected if the room doesn't feel safe following you. I want you to just think about that for a second. If the room doesn't feel safe following you, can you just think about that? It is extra emotional labor to create safety for other people when we ourselves have often not felt safe. I just want to say that part out loud because that is the truth. It's the truth. We have to work with it. And I'm trying to help give you the tools so that you can do that. It's not fair. I didn't say it was fair. I'm just letting you know this is where it is. So when I was in that space today, and again, there was 20 different women, and it was a range of women from different age groups, different ethnicities, different businesses that they were building, but I did see three different energies in the room. And I want to share just some of those things because, as I mentioned, when I'm listening to the business ideas and I was taking notes, thinking, who could I connect this person to? Is there something that I need? Someone else that I know who could need that? Is it a way that I personally could help support that specific founder? So I'm listening to not just looking at them and how they're pitching, but I'm also listening intently to what their business idea is. So there's two hats that I'm wearing at the same time. So they all have the same brilliance. So I want you to just think about that. But every time there was three different signals, if you want to call it that the room is reacting to. So the first person is either the laptop reader, the person that's holding up the paper because there was someone else who was reading off a paper, another person who read off their phone. Sidebar, when people read off their cell phone, it kind of drives me nuts. You can judge me if you want to, but I think with a certain level of preparedness, you do not need to read off your phone. I understand that jitters are there, it's natural. I also believe that with enough rehearsal, you do not need your phone. That's just my little rant. My rant is over. But that's the first type of person that I see, the person who is the reader, and you can insert device or modality there. And I want to share that reading is a shield. You think that when you read, this means I'm going to nail it. I'm not going to fumble over any words. They're going to know exactly what it is that I want to say. There will be no point that is missed. But what really it's signaling to people is that I don't trust myself to hold this moment. I don't trust myself to remember my pitch. And I don't trust myself to be able to fill in the parts that I forget because I know my business so well. And that's the part that I think people miss is that they're focused on, I need to read this script in a perfect way. And what they're forgetting is that this is their business. They know the exact reason for building this business. They know the problem that they're solving. They know where they've gotten so far and also where they want to go. But all of that goes out the window because they're focused on making it perfect. And when you're focused on making it perfect by reading, the room is starting to translate that into something else. And it's not the perfect pitch that you think that it is. It's signaling to someone, I don't trust you either. Now, not always, but oftentimes it can signal to someone, was this person unprepared? Does this person not know their business well? Does this person not trust themselves to deliver? Now, again, these are assumptions. The person could be absolutely brilliant. The idea could be sound. The business could be great. But this is what I'm describing of these small subconscious thoughts that people have based on the signals that you're providing. So instead of opting for something that feels safe, like the safety blanket of holding on to the laptop or the notepad, the index cards, or even the cell phone, how can you establish trust in yourself so that you can deliver that message without needing any of the extra tools? Now, that's one energy I see. Now, the next energy is the perfect polished pitch. People call it natural. I hear this from my clients all the time. I don't want to rehearse because I don't want to sound robotic. If I had $1 for every time a client told me this, I would have millions in the bank. And it's again this thought, this fallacy, because it's not real, that if I rehearse too much, I'm not going to sound natural. I'm going to sound like a robot. It's not going to feel like me. You won't get a sense of my personality. And I'm here to tell you that the people who sound the most natural have the most reps. That's it. The people who sound the most natural have the most reps. They have practiced it, they have looked at it themselves, they have gone back and changed things, and they have tried it over, and over. They have gotten coaching on it most times, feedback from other people. But that natural, perfect, polished pitch is often the result of many, many reps. I know for me, back in 2019, I delivered my first TEDx talk. When I was preparing for this, and I had been preparing, I delivered it in September. I'd probably been preparing since May or April of the year. And so this is putting in the reps of trying to practice this TEDx talk over and over, to the point that I remember during the summer, I was at the beach, and as I'm sitting on the sand, I'm reciting my TEDx talk. At one point, I got up and I started delivering my TEDx talk to my family. Another time, I had taken my niece to the zoo, and she had gone into one exhibit, and I'm sitting on a bench right outside, and I'm practicing the TEDx talk, to the point that the person sitting next to me actually got up off the bench and left, because she probably thought, who's this wackadoo talking to herself? But that was me continuously practicing my TEDx talk. I wanted to try it in different environments, and most importantly, I wanted to get those reps in. The example that I like to give most frequently is, think about your favorite artist or your favorite song. Do you know how many times your artist has performed that song? They don't want to sing that song ever again. You think Beyonce wants to sing about the single ladies? All my single ladies, all my single ladies. She has not been single in decades. That woman ain't trying to sing about the single ladies anymore. But people who are in that audience want to hear that song. So she sings it. And she could sing that song with her eyes closed, the lights out, the mic going off, and still be able to deliver not just the song, but the choreography and everything else too. But that is the result of all of the reps that she has put in. So I advise my clients, and for you too, if you're watching this right now and you're thinking, I have a meeting coming up, I want to be able to pitch, I have a job interview, I'm looking to get that promotion. When you're thinking about communicating, I want it to feel so natural to you. It's like your favorite song. That is when you know you're ready, and that is when the perfect polished pitch actually comes out. When you trust yourself and you have the number of reps to be able to deliver it the way you want to. And then the third energy. So we talked about that first energy, which is the reader, the person who's looking at their laptop or their phone or an index card and keeping it old school. The second person is that perfect polished pitch. Now, the third energy I see is the nervous but brilliant pitch. This is when you have the shaky voice, or you might see the sweat starting to build on the forehead. Nerves aren't a weakness. It is natural to be nervous. Some of your favorite actors in the world still talk about having nerves every single time they get up on stage, or they're on a set, or even when they accept an award. You'll see the dabbing of the forehead. Nerves aren't a weakness, but nervous has changed the signal. And if the room starts listening for what might go wrong instead of what's possible, you can start to lose them a little bit. Now, what was great about the room that I was in is there was one particular person, and she was nervous. You could hear those vocal cords just vroom, 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 shaking in her throat. And at first she started, and I thought, is this a joke? I wasn't quite sure. And she paused, and I could see her take a gulp. She looked down, she stopped, she brought the microphone to her side and said, you know what? I'm going to speak loud enough and I'm going to project my voice enough that I'm not going to use this microphone. And in that moment, and this was just a few seconds, that room rallied around her. They started clapping. You got this, you got this, you got this. The room wants you to win. And the reason I say this, it really doesn't have anything to do with you as much as you might think that it is. But people who are sitting in the audience, they want to have a good experience. They do not want to listen to someone who is fumbling through their stuff, because that actually feels awkward for the audience members. So when I tell you that someone wants you to win, they actually do. Because when you win, they win. It means their time is well spent. So take that with you. I hope that helps. But for that person who is nervous but brilliant and they bring that energy into the room, it's okay. The nerves are going to be there. What I do want to share with you, though, is that your brain doesn't know the difference between nervousness and excitement. You can check it up. You can verify this. It doesn't know the difference between nervousness and excitement. And here's why that's a good thing for you. Because instead of telling yourself, I'm nervous, and continuing to repeat that line like a drum over and over, that is not doing anything else but sending you into this nerve spiral where the room feels like it's shaking because all you are is nervous. Instead, what I want you to do is I want you to tell yourself, I'm excited. What happens when you feel excited about something? Just think about it. Are you excitedly waiting for your package to arrive today? Are you excited about the date that you're going on? Are you excited to have dinner with your sister over the weekend? When you think about being excited, your body feels differently. You move differently. You smile. You can feel an energy shift when you think about excitement. Now contrast that to when you say you're nervous. How does your body feel when you're nervous? What does your face look like? How does your face change or eyebrows start to furrow? It's just a completely different experience when you say that you're nervous. Everything in your body starts to signal something completely different than the joy that comes from excitement. And this is a small tip that you can take. Start swapping that nervousness for excitement and see how things start to shift. Because the nerves are okay, they're going to be there. I've spoken on over 150 stages at this point. And I will tell you that in the first few minutes, I still get hot. I still feel myself start to sweat along my hairline. And it happens almost every single time. And then I just drop in, I connect with the audience, and it starts to go away. Now, it's just the way that it is. I allow those nerves to be there. I still tell myself I'm excited. I allow my body to do what my body is going to do. And I start to lock in with the audience because I want them to know that I'm nervous, but I'm still capable. I'm still competent. And now, yes, you're listening for those quivers in my vocal cords, but I'm actually going to still be able to leave you with an impact for the words that I say and what's possible for what I'm talking about. So all of these energies, same brain, different signal, different outcome. So if you're in corporate America watching this video, you know that you're already living this constantly. Demo day for you might be the Monday meeting update. It could be the client call, that quick question from leadership that has caught you completely off guard. The panel interview, the promotion conversation, the year-end review, or even the moment where you finally decide to speak up and your voice shakes. Most recently, I was on a call, and it is a community that I'm a part of. And I've been waffling a little bit as to whether or not I want to stay part of this community. And they were speaking about something, and I felt like there was an elephant in the room that wasn't being addressed. That's the easiest way that I can put it. And they kept talking about all these other things, but they weren't talking about the very real elephant that was in the room. And we got to the portion of the call, which was part of Q&A for the members. And I raised my virtual hand. I called my name and I said, I think you're doing really great work. I know how much of an impact the organization wants to make and has already made. However, and then I asked my question, I don't see this topic ever addressed. What are your thoughts on it? And the room became silent. I could see the person's face on the Zoom screen. And at first she looked confused and then had this face like, what is it that you want me to say? And so I tried to rephrase the question and explain that maybe it didn't have immediate impact on the people in that room, but it's still going to affect us, country at large, our communities, etc. She said, thank you so much for your comment. Now, in that instance, did I feel nervous to say this? Yes, because no one else in the room was talking about it. And even after I said it, the chat was silent. So it wasn't as if somebody said, oh, yes, good point, or continue to add on. It was one person who thanked me for bringing it up, and that was it. So in that moment, yes, I was nervous, but I was also convicted. And because I was convicted and I was clear on the point that I was trying to make, it overrode that nervousness. And so people got what I was saying. Now, whether or not they liked me afterwards is a completely different thing. But my job in that instance wasn't to be liked. My job was to be able to speak up and to share my opinion. And for you, Those are times that you're coming across, if not daily, then weekly at your own job. These status meetings that happen, these random phone calls that pop up, or a Teams notification that comes up, and now you're asked to speak on a call or present. I want you to know that you're not losing because you're not good. You're just maybe not winning the battle yet because of these signals that you're sending out. And for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, I understand why it's hard because we're being judged through a harsher lens. We have such a small margin of error. And because of that, all these things come with us into the room. So instead of just thinking about the message we want to convey or the words we want to share, we have all this additional weight that's coming with us. I often liken it to wearing a cloak, a heavy cloak, and then expecting for us to still stand with our shoulders back, head up, when there's this weight that is pressing down on our shoulders. And it's happened anytime you've tried to be professional, but still felt smaller in the room. Or you felt like you were over prepared, but still somehow managed to over explain yourself or speed through the point and maybe even leave wondering, did they get what I was talking about? Did it make any sense? I don't know about you, but I've been there before where I've thought, did it land? Did the message land? So I want you to know that the goal isn't to don't mess up, but it is about moving the room, and it's about making sure the goal that you had for yourself is achieved. So how can you make the room move? Here's what I wish somebody had told me. The first thing was it's not only about sounding smart, but it is about sounding decided. And there's a difference in that. Have you ever sat across from someone and they sounded so convicted in what they were saying? Even if they were wrong and strong. And you look back and you think, wow, they really believe what it is that they're saying. But that's the difference. That conviction right there, that audacity they have to deliver a message, and you're looking at them, hmm, and you've already clocked it. You know that this information might not be true. You know they could be BSing you, but they sound decided. So in that instance, they're not concerned about sounding smart because you've seen people completely tell you about something that's happened on the news, an opinion that they have, where you know that this person, they don't know it. They're not smart about this topic, but they sound so decided that you start thinking, okay, maybe there's some validity, and then you're like, no, 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 I know it's not true. But if they can deliver their point well, that is going to be something that shifts the energy. That signal is going to say something because you may laugh to yourself later and be like, damn, Dave was completely wrong, but he believed what it is that he was saying, and you could laugh about it. But that delivery, you're going to remember it. Now, the second piece is about notes. Let's go back because I feel like maybe I judged the readers a little bit too harshly. It's not that your notes are the problem. Having an index card to maybe hold in your back pocket is just a way to have a little cheat sheet with a couple of bullet points. That's not the problem. The problem is when you hide behind it because people can tell the difference between I just want to glance at it because I've lost a point, or I want to make sure I've hit this last point versus I'm going to literally hide behind it. When you lose your personality, and we can't see who you are anymore because all you are is reading from a piece of paper, that's when it becomes a problem. So you can't hide behind your notes. The notes are there to support you, but if you live in them, it hands your authority away. I'm going to share a reason why. So a couple years ago, I spoke at Arlen Hamilton's event. I'll do a whole video on that because that experience was one of the best experiences, bar none, in my entire life. But there were some people at that event that were using their cell phone to deliver their talk. It undermines the message. When you put all of the accomplishments of this person up on the screen and you introduce them with all these accolades, all of the accomplishments and achievements that they have, and then the person gets onto the stage and reads completely from their cell phone, I promise you what happens is it creates a disconnect in the audience's mind as to what they just heard about the person versus what they're seeing. And now it feels like these two things are not connecting anymore because this resume versus what they're seeing with their eyes, it doesn't mesh. It doesn't mesh. It doesn't feel connected. And people are starting to look in this way. Well, now the thought that they're having is, was this person not prepared? Why are they using their cell phone? That's weird. I thought they did this for a living. It doesn't seem like they should need to use their cell phone. Do you see what it is that I'm doing? Now, this is what's happening in the audience's mind. And when the audience is thinking about that, and when I say audience, this could be your manager, this could be your coworkers, this could be if you're pitching, the group who's in the room, but anyone who is listening to you. When they start to have those thoughts, do you know what's happening? They ain't listening to you anymore. They've stopped hearing what it is that you're saying because now their brain is thinking something else. And that is when you've lost your audience. So the notes aren't the problem, but hiding behind the notes is the problem. And the last shift I want you to think about is presence is not volume. It's not somebody who says it loud and they got to yell and be boisterous and say all of these things. That's not necessary. I'm sorry if I just blew out your ears when I did that. But it's not about volume. It's about ownership. How are you owning your story? Are you clear? Are you anchored? Do you have a specific point? And when you land the plane, is everybody clapping when they land because they know exactly where you were going? So the volume, a lot of people can speak loudly and say a whole lot of nothing. But how are you owning the piece that you have, the conversation, the portion of the conversation, or your presentation, or your keynote? How are you owning that piece for yourself? Now, if you've ever felt like you can resonate with any of this, and maybe you've left that stage or you've left the meeting or interaction and you think, I messed up, and you just want to blame yourself, I want you to give yourself grace because every chance is an opportunity for you to do it again and do it in a different way. I get what it's like to blame yourself. I've had my own moments where I've gone on stage and I thought I could have done that completely differently. I could have delivered that better. Why didn't I say it this way? And I have all those same thoughts that are going through my mind. But I want you to blame the right thing. It could be lack of preparation, lack of coaching, lack of repetitions. You just need to put in those reps, or even a lack of support, not having someone to bounce it off of, not being able to get feedback that you need so that you can make those adjustments. So give yourself grace and then also understand what is the gap that you're looking to solve. Are you looking to find someone who can support you in improving those things? Do you want some feedback? Are you looking for mentorship? A lot of us were taught to be professional, and what professional means is different. And especially in our communities where we may have come in as the first and only, as I have been in many, many rooms, the idea of professional often meant you dress a certain way, stay quiet, and you keep your head down. Professional in 2026 and beyond is completely different. It's not fixated on just what it is that you're wearing or just what your posture is. Think of it more about how powerful you are in the space. No, I'm not talking about title, but how powerful you're showing up in the space and in your own level of self-trust and self-knowing. That's going to be the difference. Because again, I talked to you earlier about energies. There's a reason that I'm talking about energies, because energies is something that people can feel. And so you can help shift those energies with these little tweaks. I want you to tell me, what's the room that you are in right now that you dread, even though you know you're qualified to be in the room. It could be dreading that elevator and going up that long elevator shaft with someone where you don't want to be in because you feel uncomfortable. It could be a boardroom, a conference room, a virtual room, a networking event. Where is the space that you find yourself dreading, even though you're qualified to be there, even though you're capable? It just isn't clicking for you. Leave a comment below. I'll reply to your comment, or if not, maybe I'll make a video about it so we can address it in a deeper way. If this video hit close to home, I want you to hit the subscribe button and follow along, because over time, the videos we share are going to be talking more about executive presence, and specifically why women, just like us, Black and Brown women, have never actually been told about executive presence. And the things that you're reading in the book are outdated and they don't always apply to us. I'm Monica, and I make videos just like this to help you reach your next professional goal. I'll see you next time.